Berachos Daf Mem Aleph. We have in the Mishnah Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda Chachamim. If you have fruit in front of you, which one do you make a bracha on first? Is it the Shivas Haminim first, or is it Chaviv first, the one you like more? Says Ula Machlokes Hamarayim. How to explain this Machlokes? The Machlokes is only when the brachas are the same. Both of them are eight. So you have an apple and an olive. The olive is Shivas Haminim. The apple is what I like more. Which one do you make first? But if the brachas are different, you have Ha'adoma and ha'etz, you have a carrot and an olive, you can make a bracha on the carrot if you like, according to anybody. Now, there is a brisa that says that if you eat a turnip and then you eat an olive, the turnip, the ha'adama on the turnip is mighty the olive that's ha'etz. And we must explain that the pshat is because the turnip is very sharp. And the only reason you're eating the olive is to diffuse the very sharp taste. In other words, the olive is a tuffle to the turnip. And here's a big chiddush. Even though you're eating the tuffle not together with the turnip, nevertheless, since it comes because of the turnip, it's still considered a tuffle to the turnip. You don't make a bracha on it. Now there's a shita that says that the machlokes of Yehuda and Chachamim is even in a case when the brachas are not equal. Because we have a Rav Yosef who says that the pasuk that discusses the Shivas Haminim, Eretz, Chita, V'Soira, V'Gefen, V'Te'ina, V'Rimay. Eretz, Zeis, Shemen, Udvash, goes in a very specific order. Chita, wheat, the bracha comes before Sa'ira, barley. And you just go down the pasuk, whatever is first in the pasuk, the bracha comes before that thing. And therefore, that would tell us that anything that's in this pasuk comes before other vegetables as well. Rav Chanan says that this pasuk is coming to tell us that these fruit of Eretz Yisrael all correspond to shiurim in the Torah. So for instance, we start from the beginning. Chita, wheat. That is, if a person goes into a house of a Metzora, holding his clothing and his shoes and his ring, they become tamei immediately. He becomes tamei immediately and all his clothing becomes tamei. But if he's wearing his clothing, he has to wait anywhere from 3 to 9 minutes. That's the shear of Kedei Achilas Pras. A half a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread is 2 sudas. A half of bread is 4 beitzim, 1 suda. But the Gemara says it has to be in a special shear that's easy to eat. It has to be made out of wheat. So here you have the shear of wheat. You have to be leaning and you have to have a dip. The next shear is sa'ira. A bone the size of a barley is metama if it's from a dead person, if you touch it and if you lift it, but it's not metama the whole room, but oil. Gefen, wine, is a shear for nazir. If another nazir eats chartzanim, he eats the peel or the seeds of the grape. If he eats a shear of a reviz, how do you measure a reviz? With wine, wine is thicker than water, therefore if more of it fits into the cup. Te'ena is a fig. That's how much you have to take out into a different rishus on Shabbos, the size of a fig for food, that is, the size of a fig. Rima and a pomegranate, if you own a kli, you're not selling a kli, because a kli wouldn't become tummy, would lose its susceptibility to tumah, even if it has a small hole in it, but if you own a kli, you don't want to get rid of it until it has a giant hole the size of a pomegranate. And then it's no longer mikabel tumah. An olive, that's all most of the shiurim of the Torah, such as chaylev, dam, pigul, and noisar. And finally, dvash, which is a date, that's the amount you have to eat on Yom Kippur in order to be over. And Rav Yosef was mechulik. He says all these shiurim, they're just on a smacht in the Torah. It's not a real limud of the Torah. Question. You have in front of you a date and a pomegranate. Which one do you make a bracha on first? Now, if you go on the list of the Torah, the date is the last one in the 7 minim. A pomegranate is number 5. So l'chayra, a pomegranate should come before a date. Says the Gemara, Rav Amnuna said no. A date comes before a pomegranate. Why? Because the pasuk is divided into 2 pieces. First eretz and second eretz. The date is the second one to the second eretz. The second one comes before the 5th one on the first eretz. And Rav Chisda heard this, he was extremely excited. He said, Halavai should have metal feet so that I could serve you forever. If a person made amaitzi, and then they brought him fruit, they brought him dates, figs, and grapes. According to Rav Huna and Rav Nachman, since it's not part of the Suda, you have to make a separate bracha on it. And Berachos Hamazon works to be maitzi those fruit. According to Rav Shimon, you need to make a new bracha achroina. Birkas Hamazon doesn't work. Why? Because Birkas Hamazon is only for something that satiated you. These fruits are just for sweetness, and therefore you have to make another bracha on them. And he adds, he says one of the scariest words in Shas. He says the only thing that I could think of that doesn't require a bracha achroina is pas haba b'kisnin or kesanim. Rashi explains. Kisnim is toasted grain. Bread that comes at the end of the meal, toasted grain. Says Rashi, it's talking about after Birkas Hamazon, they bring toasted grain. In addition to that, they bring bread. And since that bread has so little flour in it, less than a kazai's flour, it has a lot of nuts and other stuff in it. Therefore, you don't have to make a bracha achroina on it. Tosfos argues with Rashi very strongly. Rebbe Chia says, bread patters all foods, and wine patters all beverages. And says Rav Papa, halacha l'mais, and he says 3 halachas. And I'm going to say how Rashi learns, but also how Tosfos learns, because we go by Tosfos, and that's what's brought down in Shulchan Aruch and in the Mishnah Berurah. Things that come because of the Suda, in the middle of the Suda, don't need a bracha, not beforehand and not afterwards. Says Rashi, that's talking about anything that you dip your bread in. Says Tosfos, no, it's talking about meat and fish, and that's what we do today. We don't make a bracha on meat and fish because of this halacha. It comes agav the bread. You don't eat it with the bread, but because you have a Suda with bread, you bring to the table fish and meat, and you don't have to make a bracha. Second halacha, if it doesn't come because of the Suda, then you have to make a bracha beforehand, but not afterwards. What does that mean? Says Rashi, it's not for a dip, it's to satiate yourself, such as eating cabbage or turnips. Tosfos says, no, it's talking about fruit sweets, and Rashi would use this as the third halacha. Sweets, in other words, fruit, they don't come because of the bread, and therefore you have to make a bracha before, but you yaitz with the Birkas Hamazon afterwards. And finally, the third halacha, anything that comes after Suda, you have to make a bracha before and after. According to Rashi, it's fruit. And according to Tosfos, it means even meat and fish that come after you're done. You say, I'm finished eating. You didn't even make Birkas Hamazon, you're done. You have to make another bracha, Rishona and Achrona. And finally, last halacha for today. Ben Zoma says that when you make ha-moitzi on bread, it's not moitzi the wine. Why is that? Because wine is special. Wine is goyim a bracha for itself. Meaning, there are times that you make a bracha on wine, you don't even want to drink the wine, but you have to make it on wine, such as Kiddush and Havdalah. Therefore, it's a very special bracha, and you're not yaitza through the bread. Have a wonderful day.